1. So a bit of context. I was a student who barely ever spoke, and always kept to myself. Basically the quiet kid in the corner people forget that was even in the class. My teacher, Mr. Teacher, was a late 30s to early 40s balding man. He was one of those fun teachers that was pretty into current memes, but not in a cringy way. He was genuinely pretty good with his sense of humor and up-to-date jokes. However, he also had a bit of an ego, not too big, but he always seemed to want to prove he was the smartest in the room, one way or another. One day, instead of doing classwork, we got distracted as he tried to prove that no wish is safe from being manipulated by a genie. So the class challenged him that they could find an incorruptible wish. There were a few basic wishes that people made, such as "I wish for more wishes," to which he would say, "Granted, now you have 2 wishes left and can't make up your mind anymore."
I wish I was a top streamer on Twitch.
Granted, streaming is now your life. You've gained no other life skill. By the time you're as old as me, you will realize that all you have is streaming and nothing more.
I wish for no loopholes in my other 2 wishes.
Granted, consequences are not loopholes, and words can have multiple meanings and interpretations, etc., etc. No wish was safe, and the students were becoming more and more hopeless that there really was no incorruptible wish for Mr. Teacher, the genie. All this time, I'm just enjoying the fact that there's no classwork being done and not really paying much attention to what's happening. But seeing Mr. Teacher with that shit-eating grin, so happy that he made all his students depressed so early in the morning, I just had to do something about it. I came up with my own wish, that he wouldn't dare mock or corrupt. At this point, no one is giving any more suggestions, and Mr. Teacher is just begging for one more wish to ruin. So here comes my hand being raised in the back of the class, with my own grin to match his. He motions at me to go ahead, and I say, "I wish Mr. Teacher got his hair back." All the students collectively lost it. Mr. Teacher could only open and close his mouth a few times, with no words coming out before finally blurting out, "I don't want to do this anymore." Then proceeded to make the whole thing into a "be careful what you wish for" lecture. I never got an answer for my wish. Almost forgot to add how the whole thing started. This small group of students were talking about their future and what they wanted to do or accomplish. Like one wanted some specific luxury or sports car, another wanted to be Twitch famous, etc. Mr. Teacher came in and basically told them that their dreams were not as sunshine and rainbows as they were making it out to be, and hit them with reality checks. Then the whole topic of an incorruptible wish came up, so he played the genie role, with the whole class getting involved. He meant well with the whole "be careful what you wish for," but it also came out like "your dream's bad, here's why." Still worked, I guess, and he was one of the best teachers that not many knew about. 2. I used to work for my family's plumbing contracting business. It was a decent-sized company, doing about 200 to 400 homes per year across subdivisions and custom homes, as well as some commercial and hydronics work. My role was pretty broad, but my main ones were purchasing, scheduling, dealing with customers, quoting, and writing contracts. Basically an office-type job with some occasional trips outside to job sites. This one custom home builder was a bit of a pain in the ass. Changing schedules last minute, wanting to make changes without paying, disorganized, and just gave me the impression that he would screw you over if he could save a buck. The project we were hired to do kind of went into limbo, and he ghosted me for 6 months while owing our company about $1,500 that had not yet been paid. He calls me up out of the blue and asks if I can complete the job for him. We had completed the rough-in drainage work and the water pipe, the house needed tubs installed, and the rough-in inspection completed and passed. The guy had already given me a skeevy vibe, so I told him I will complete the work only after I had been paid, to which he agreed to, and said he would have the money in hand when my workers arrived on site. He agreed to the amount owing as well, but I could tell something was off. He was agreeing but being very vague when I was giving my terms, using terms like, "yeah, when trying to iron out the details of the job. I had been doing this for nearly 20 years or so I could spot a crook builder pretty easily by that point. Cue the PettyRevenge. Since I had already been ghosted and burned by this guy, I had written the $1,500 off, since I hadn't heard from him in over 6 months, as well as the fact that even though he owed me $1,500, I owed him 3 tubs that totaled over $2,500 before taxes, not including the work we needed to complete. I called my supplier to check stock, and asked if I could return them without a restocking fee, as I think this builder may try to not pay me. They agreed, and said it wouldn't be an issue as long as the tubs remained in their original boxes, as these tubs were all regular movers for them. I ordered the tubs and called the builder back to schedule the work for later that week. I reminded him that I will only start work once I had been paid as well as the amount owed. He responded with a vague yet curt, "Uh-huh." I told him to have cash or a certified check ready for my workers when they arrive on site, which again I got another vague acceptance from him. The day arrives to do the work. My workers arrive there a little before 8 a.m. Job site is locked up and nobody is around. I call the builder and he tells me his wife will be there in 15 minutes to let my workers in. I remind him to make sure she has our payment. He responds with another vague, "Yeah, uh-huh." She finally shows up an hour later and surprise, no payment, no cash, no check, not even an apology for making my guys wait for her for over an hour. Since I had expected this, I made sure to have another job nearby lined up so the workday would not be wasted. I told my guys to pack up and leave for the other job. I called the builder back and asked him why he didn't have payment ready. He starts making all kind of excuses, saying it's just too much, blah blah blah. I told him the time to bring that up was a few days ago when we agreed to everything, not when my guys were about to start the work. To which he responded, "I'm not paying that." "Okay, then lose my number, asshole." Then I hung up the phone, called my supplier, and scheduled the tubs for pickup. I don't know if he thought I was naive, stupid, or just so desperate for work that I would cave and work for free. Either way, his greed cost him over $1,000 in material alone, not to mention the labor for finishing the job. 3. About 10 years ago, I still went to school. Everything was fine except this guy that didn't like me. He would always sit behind me and make some nasty comments about something that always smelled so bad. I already thought he meant me by that, but I simply ignored it since I was used to bullying at school. If I really did smell this bad, he would come to me in private and tell me that in a nice manner, instead of letting the whole class know. Or take a seat somewhere else. Or someone from the class would tell me. Ironically, he would always make these disgusting sounds when he coughs out slime and swallows it again. Yikes. I never had a problem with anyone else from this class except him. And after having been bullied in all the school stages before, and finally being happy that I was finally put in a class that were nice to me and showed respect to each other, there had to, of course, be that one cockroach that had to destroy this happiness for me. And of course, in one of those classes we had a teacher that was so old-fashioned that she would only look at one side of the story and immediately blame the other person. Not her favorite Randall that gets a compliment from her every time he somehow managed to use his brain for a couple of seconds answering some questions. So it was a normal day. We had 4 classes finished and the teacher suddenly drags me to her and tells me how she's observed that this guy always hints about me smelling bad, and of course she must assume that this was the only true answer to that problem, and that this was totally just my fault, and that I should shower more, wear more perfume and deodorant. I kind of laughed it off. I take a shower every morning before I go to school and one in the evening. I shave my armpits regularly and use deodorant. My family and friends never told me I smelled bad, and I literally asked the teacher right then and there if I smelled bad. She denied it and told me that it wasn't today, but all the other days. I asked a friend from my class and she told me I didn't smell sweaty. But yeah, I could just mind my own business and ignore it. But I thought the best thing after months of stupid comments and slime-coughing terror, I could take some petty revenge. The next day, I bought with me lots of perfumes and deodorant. In every class he sat beside me, I covered myself in perfume before, in the middle, and after class. I did this more especially when the old-fashioned bitch-ass teacher had classes, just to annoy the shit out of her too. When he commented I smelled bad, I simply put on the deodorant and sprayed it around at my desk. He shut up pretty fast and moved his seat somewhere else, but this doesn't stop there. When he moved his seat to somewhere else, I would sit behind him and of course spray some deodorant at random times. When he coughed out his slime, I would either imitate him or I would comment something along the lines of, "Sounds like someone's choking or dying in his own cough right now." Or sounds like someone in class needs to see a doctor. That coughing does not sound good. Of course, my teacher told me to stop since it smelled too good in class, but I still continued. She told me to stop with these comments, but I told her he did the same to me, and that was totally okay for her. So that implied that I am allowed to say nasty comments too. I told her he'd bullied me for 6 months now with his comments, so he got 6 months back from me. I told her one of us could switch classes, but that would be too much work for someone that has her retirement long overdue. The class thought it may have been a little childish, but they didn't seem annoyed. In 3rd year, I stopped with it, and we ignored each other. I guess he learned his lesson. 4. About 30 or so years ago, I dropped out of high school. My first job was as a truck jockey for a bloke who owned his own removal truck and had a delivery contract with a local chain of furniture stores. The work was hard, and the days were usually pretty long. I have an old payslip somewhere for an 84-hour week, but I was young, fit and healthy, and the work saved me from needing a gym membership. Plus, the cash was really good for a 16-year-old. One long, reasonably warm day, we're heading to our last delivery before going home. It was close to 6 p.m., and we still have a 45 to 60-minute drive home after, so the boss was in no mood for fucking around. The delivery was in Melbourne's, at the time probably still is, wealthiest suburb, Turek. Lots of big houses and old money. Anyway, we rock up at this place, and the boss heaves a sigh of relief. Massive double entry doors at the front. We were delivering a 3-seater sofa. Things were heavy, and the metal fold-out bed inside, so anything that made the delivery that little bit easier was seen as a positive. As usual, the boss hops into the back of the truck and starts unwrapping the load to get it onto the tailgate while I go knock on the door, clipboard in hand. I ring the bell, old-fashioned turn the brass handle thing, and a butler opens the door. I see just over his shoulder a massive entry hall with a big, wide staircase leading up to the 2nd story. Awesome. Yes. G'day. We're here to deliver a sofa bed for Mrs. Rich Bitch. Not her actual name, obviously. She was a rich bitch. Delivery entrance is around to the side. Oh, okay. I trot around to the side door, thinking it would be a straight-up delivery into a room nearer to that door. I wait, and he, eventually, opens the door. Per our SOP, I ask him to show me where the furniture was going, so I could map a route out for my boss. He gestures to, I'm genuinely not fucking kidding, goddamn spiral staircase. Up those stairs. Yes. But I noticed there's a lot more room at the front doors, plus the bigger staircase there. Can we deliver via that route instead? The lady of the house wishes for it to be delivered via rear entrance. Really, there's no way we're getting that sofa bed up there without hurting ourselves, or the furniture, or house. We can't deliver via the front. The lady of the house will simply not permit it. Okay, I'll go let my boss know. By the time I get back to the truck, the boss has the sofa sitting on the tailgate ready for us to carry in. Ready? Not quite, you're not going to believe it, but they want us to deliver via a side entrance and up a spiral staircase. The fuck they do? Yep, old mate in the suit and tie said so. How many times did you ask him? A couple. Wasn't sure I heard him right the first time, but he said the customer won't allow it. Nah, bullshit. Wait here. The boss strides up to the front door and rings the bell, perhaps a little aggressively. Butler opens it. Words are exchanged. The boss gets pretty heated and demands to see the customer, Mrs. Richbridge.
What is all this nonsense?
Your fella here said we can't deliver through these doors and up that staircase behind you. The other way's too narrow, we'll bust our backs trying to get it up there.
That's not my concern. My desire is for the furniture to be delivered via the side entrance.
Nah, we're not doing that. Just let us go this way and we'll be out of your hair in no time.
I insist that you deliver the furniture in accordance with the terms of the contract.
Cue malicious compliance. The boss straightens up, squares his shoulders.
Okay, sure, no worries. We'll get it done, as you said, in accordance with the delivery contract.
He walks back towards me, massive grin on his face, and tells me to grab the highlighter, fluorescent marker, from the cab. I go grab it and hand it to him. He highlights something on the delivery docket on the clipboard. tosses it onto the sofa, and gestures at me to grab my end. I'm wondering what's about to go down, and I know my boss well enough to know that we aren't about to carry this bloody thing through a side door and up a spiral staircase. As we get near the front doors, the boss tells me we're putting the sofa bed down. He grabs a clipboard and politely asks Rich Bitch to sign for delivery.
I'm not signing anything yet. You haven't delivered it to where I want it.
But we have now. Please read the section I've highlighted.
She reads said bit.
Oh, well, that changes things. Through the front doors will be fine.
Sorry, please read the second highlighted section.
But I've changed my mind.
Sorry, as you can see, it says that deliveries must be made the safest way possible without risking injury to us. And if we still disagree after 3 attempts at making delivery, the customer takes responsibility for completing the delivery from the front of the premises. We asked 4 times, so as you requested, I'm delivering per the terms of the delivery contract you signed.
But how am I supposed to get this upstairs?
I'm afraid that's no longer my problem, ma'am. Please sign the delivery docket so we can get out of your hair.
I took that as my cue to fuck off, pack the wraps and straps, and prep the truck for departure. We managed to hold in our laughter until the end of the driveway. 5. I was working at this multinational software consultancy firm a few years back when this happened. A few of us got a Skype notification from our manager to check our email ASAP. It was one of his higher-ups with my manager in CC, asking us why we had some specific MS program installed, who gave us the license and authorization to install it, and if we didn't have authorization we should remove it and read our guidelines. He was a huge unprofessional dick about it. I checked and did have it installed even though I didn't install anything on that machine. Replied as such and said I had already removed it. Didn't really enjoy having to go through crap when I wasn't in the wrong, and told my manager as such. He just said I knew not to do it, which really pissed me off some more. Come next week, everyone gets the same treatment. Turns out we were all given the same software package when they imaged our laptops. Management became very quiet when we raised that flag, but did make sure to ask us to remove it. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. I was working on a project, and we were asked at the end of one day to provide a video demo. We couldn't record using phone cameras, so I declined, and told them how to run our work so they could see it running themselves. I then left and ignored all calls from work, which were many. Went to the gym, had a nice meal, ignored all texts. Fun times. Come next morning, I had several emails asking for our team to just use some software and get it done. That's just what I wanted. I asked, in writing, if they would provide the software and was told to just download anything and do it already, as the appropriate department would take 2 weeks to analyze our needs, and they needed that demo yesterday. They couldn't provide us with appropriate software either, as they had no idea what would work and it wasn't their business. The thing is, we weren't even allowed to download freeware according to our guidelines. So I quoted page and section, reminded them I had a previous written warning and order, as well as my entire office, and would refuse on that basis. I would be happy to run the whole thing in my personal machine with my own software, but reminded them that was also against the rules. Needless to say, I had an interesting chat with my own manager, and was eventually excused to just download anything and record the demo. I made sure to send the demo video along with information I had been explicitly told by my higher-up to comply, who I CC'd, and put in the software's name and download website so I could cover my ass. That rule was relaxed very soon after. Funny thing was, whenever our laptops needed to be re-imaged, they would still come with the offending program. We were just never bothered about it. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge's Ice Cream, episode 229. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Please do pop a like before you go, it is very much appreciated. The better the videos do, the more I can make. Alright, let's see, no special shout-outs today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, if a piece of fruit was to become the leader of a country, which piece of fruit would it be and why? Personally, I think the pineapple has the grace and dignity to lead us into a great future. I wouldn't trust a banana They're delicious, but I think they're a little flighty. I don't think they'd be very good at politics. But apples are solid. Not very interesting, kind of boring to get the job done. And I look forward to hearing your answers in a comment below. And oh dear, I can see men with butterfly nets in the distance. How unfortunate. Anyway, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.